Hey everyone, welcome to part 2 of our webinar series in which we're discussing how Article Galaxy references can elevate the way your team collaborates, organizes, and innovates in the world of research. Let's just kind of give people another second here until they join in. So if you do want to go ahead and grab yourself a cup of coffee, tea, beverage of your choice. I don't know if with the background you can see, I of course have my coffee here. Feel free to do so. Heidi, you're all stacked up with the coffee?
Yeah, and water, so good to go.
Perfect. Okay, hey everyone, welcome. So today we are shifting our focus to the features of Article Galaxy references that allow teams to manage and organize their research as well as collaborate as a team. If you weren't able to make it to part 1 on Tuesday, you don't have to worry about that. After this webinar is over, I'll be sending out the recordings of both webinar 1 and webinar 2, so you can share them with colleagues or watch the part that you weren't able to make live. Okay, let me introduce our panelist today. Our panelist is Heidi Nichols. She's a product specialist and in-house expert of all things references. Welcome to this webinar, Heidi.
Thank you, Julia.
And my name is Julia Heeson. I'm the Director of Growth Marketing at Research Solutions, and I'm your moderator of our conversation today. So a couple of quick housekeeping items. As I mentioned, this webinar is being recorded, so no worries about that. We'll have dedicated time for all of your questions towards the end of the webinar. But as soon as the questions come up down on Zoom where it says Q&A, you can click there and all of your questions can be added. Also, if you have any technical issues whatsoever, feel free to use the chat and I'll be monitoring that for you. Okay, what are we covering today, Heidi?
Great. So our agenda is heavily focused on the demonstration part of the call today. I will quickly do a quick recap of part 1, sort of what was covered during that session. As Julia mentioned, it was recorded and that will be shared with you after the call today, but we will focus our demonstration today on how references specifically supports literature management and collaboration across teams. At the end, there will be a live Q&A, a few announcements from Julia as well, but that will be what we're covering. So I am going to jump right into it here. In case you didn't attend part 1, I do want to do a quick overview of Article Galaxy, and then again, talk about some of the features we covered on part 1. So Article Galaxy is a solution that allows you to discover, search, and acquire scientific literature, all within one platform. It also allows you to order and access any article from anywhere, but it also layers in open access content and can help you manage things like subscriptions or token packages you have with publishers directly as well. So as you order and acquire research and literature, it all becomes easily accessible and manageable within Article Galaxy references, which leads us to our conversation today. So we then have a unique enterprise-level literature management solution. And while it can help you do things like build bibliographies and track citations, it also empowers users to discover, to access, but also manage and collaborate around literature. So earlier in the week, we focused on the discovery and the access part of this workflow. So we talked about things like how you can search universally across Article Galaxy, but also your PDF library, other folders, whether personal folders or shared folders. We also talked about how there are integrations with things like our sister product site that helps you assess the credibility of papers, how GPT can summarize papers and reveal key insights, but also things like RSS feeds, smart folders, and notifications, just for keeping you up to date on the newest literature in your areas of interest. We also talked about access. So how can you actually order and receive the PDF of the article you're interested in? All of that is seamless within Article Galaxy and Article Galaxy references. We talked a lot about your company PDF library as well. That will come back today in our session. And then also how we store your supplementary material, our browser extension, which allows you to order through other discovery platforms, things of that nature. So again, Julia will be sharing the recording of that session following today's call. But today we'll talk about the management and collaboration side. So some of the things that we'll cover are the ability to add custom fields and tags to documents. This allows you to, one, get a quick overview of what the article pertains to at a high glance, topics that are covered, but also customize your workflow and references to track and capture specific insights from those documents. We'll also talk about how you can utilize reuse rights for your specific use case. Things like medical affairs, presenting externally, making sure you have the ability to use those articles in that specific way. We'll also talk about different ways you can filter references, or of course, organization and management of references, and some of the other capabilities like automating the refreshment of metadata or deduplicating. So quite a few things we'll talk about on the management side of things. But collaboration as well is going to be a key focus. So we'll look at how you can add notes or comments, highlight and mark up different PDFs directly within references. Also, again, adding things like those tags and custom fields. And we'll talk about how shared and company folders work in the platform. Things like user groups, which will help facilitate collaboration as well. And then also things like extracting citations from the platform. So again, we're going to cover a lot. So yeah, hopefully this will answer a lot of your questions about references and show you some of the value of the platform as well. But that being said, we're going to jump into a demonstration of references here. So let me switch over my screen. Okay, so I started last time within our company PDF library directly in references as well, and I'm going to do the same today. So previously I mentioned that the company PDF library really is the backbone of Article Galaxy references because it is a repository of all of the literature that your organization has acquired, either through open access, subscription, tokens, or other purchases. So all of this information found within your PDF library, you have full text access, as well as access to the supplementary material. So it is a comprehensive, deep library where you can access all of this fantastic research. There are several features here that help us with the management of our literature, which we'll dive into. First, I do want to mention that this library offers unlimited storage. So we do work with very large organizations, some of the top 20 pharmaceutical companies as well, sometimes who have tens of thousands of documents. So references is a truly comprehensive repository and adds a lot of value for those types of organizations. So oftentimes you're not aware of what your colleagues are ordering in terms of papers. So, every time that an Article Galaxy user orders a paper, it automatically gets uploaded to the company PDF library and then becomes accessible to the rest of the organization. This also helps to eliminate things like repeat purchases. So if your colleague has already purchased it, you also do not have to then purchase it when you order it at a later date. So again, Article Galaxy references really helps to safeguard and reduce costs, making sure we're always acquiring literature at the lowest cost possible. So I also talked a little bit about search last time, but just to get us started, I am going to run the same search on peanut allergy. So if I'm working on a project on peanut allergy, company PDF library allows me to easily find papers related to that topic. Again, I'll mention some of the things like, other search capabilities. We can search for a specific title. If you know the paper you're looking for, you can search by year as well, or use things like our search builder. From here, I do want to review a couple of the things that I mentioned on the last part. One being, again, you do have access to all of the supplementary material as well. But we can also use things like our integrations to assess, is this paper relevant to what I'm working on currently? So it does apply, to our session today as well. So Smart Citations, we have an integration with our sister product site. I can see, how this paper has been cited in the past. I think most people on the call are probably familiar with the number of citations being a possible indicator of a high impact article. So you can see that this paper here has been cited by 368 papers, but we can also see the context of how that's being cited, whether it's a supporting citation, as in the research has been found to be repeatable or observed in future research, or even if it's contrasting. So maybe there are some questions or the subject is still up for debate. So a lot of great insights we can gain from these citations here to say, yes, this is a paper that I want to include on my project, or maybe no, this is one maybe that I'll skip this time. We can also use that ChatGPT integration to just get a sense of what this paper is about. Also understand things like what some of the key results are that were discussed. So that's a great way as well, just to get some additional insight into if there's a paper that matches the criteria I'm currently looking for. Okay, so now let's talk about how we can start to manage some of this literature. You'll notice on the left-hand side here, I have several folders set up, some for peanut allergy. I have one for sulfa allergy and a penicillin allergy as well. So these are various ways that I can start to organize the literature based on the topics that are discussed, or drugs that are being mentioned, products that are being mentioned. So you have the ability to set up and sort the documents based on the projects you're working on and what your current workflow is. I'm first going to start in my folders here. So this is a personal folder. Only you have access to it as a user, but you can choose to share these later, which we'll get into in the latter part of the demonstration today. So starting here in my peanut allergy folder, from here, I can see many of these citations I've already added. I can see new citations as well. I mentioned in our first part that we are always sort of indicating visually the new content that's available on the platform. You'll notice some other visual indicators here also. So one great way that I can start to build up these folders or these bibliographies, if you want to look at them that way, I can use the company PDF library to start to build out some of these bibliographies. So again, running my search on peanut allergy, I can say, by reviewing some of the details of these articles here, I can say, yes, this is something I want to consider for the project. And I can easily start to drag and drop those into the folders accordingly. So it's a very intuitive and easy process just to start to sort out some of this information from the PDF library that might be relevant to your current project. As I mentioned before, the PDF library is an unlimited repository, so there's no limit to the amount of PDFs you can add. And same goes for folders. You can add as many folders as needed and add as many PDFs to those folders as needed as well. So again, you can drag and drop very easily across all the folders you have access to. And then once you've added those, you'll see they are bolded just to indicate that those are new citations that were added. So that's the first way you can start to organize your literature, but we can also bulk add citations as well. You'll notice in the upper right-hand corner of the screen here, I have this add menu. There is an option for a single citation if you know the information about that paper you want to add. There's also multiple citations where you can upload a RIS file or other types of files and quickly add those references to your repository here. As well, we do support a drag and drop. So while you can't see my downloads menu on my other monitor here, I can just drag in a file here and quickly upload that to the folder as well. So a couple different ways that we can support, uploading or organizing that literature into your folders. Great. So I think we covered most of the capabilities there for personal folders. I do want to note, while this does, of course, support publications, we can even integrate other document types here. This does include, of course, doc files, XLS or Excel files, PowerPoints, image files as well, even things like MP3s and MP4s. So we're certainly able to aggregate a lot of different type of research into the platform here also, just to make it a comprehensive repository. Great. So I next want to talk about my references. So my references is actually a brand new functionality. I think we released it last week. But what this does is it keeps track of any reference that's specific to you, whether it's you've ordered from the Article Galaxy platform, that will automatically get added here to your references, or perhaps you've uploaded a new citation to the platform as well. So all of that gets tracked here in your references. You can think of this as a working folder. It's an easy place to get started because if you've ordered an article, it's most likely that you're interested in using that in your projects. So from here, we can start to then, evaluate the literature, see where perhaps I've already added things like tags or comments. And this will help me understand sort of which ones I've already started to process or add more context to. So this is a great place to start as well, just to quickly get access to those articles, again, that you've already ordered. And then same logic applies here, so you can always drag and drop as well. This time I'll do this into my shared folder for the sulfur allergy. But again, you have that same capability to drag and drop across all your folders here. Okay, so that's my references. Again, it is a new feature. We are always trying to add, new things to make this a more intuitive, seamless process. So that's our way of pulling in your order history into the references platform. And I mentioned tags just a moment ago, and I do want to get into that here as well. So as you'll see, one of the indicators we have on the screen here is this tag icon. This helps me see where tags have been applied across some of the publications. So if I select this publication here, again, my references, it's not really grouped together by any sort of topic. It's just any article that potentially I've ordered. So I can use tags to get a high level view of what this article might be about. So in this case, I can use this is your custom fields, go to article details here. Article details will show the tags below. So I can see I've already applied a peanut allergy tag to this article. So if it's in my references document, I could easily then, sort it into my peanut allergy folder. So it gives me this high level view of topics that might be of interest, different ways that I can interact with this article, or maybe just projects that I want to attribute this article to. So that's a great way to utilize tags. Again, just to quickly note, maybe even things like, is this a pediatric study or is it an adult study? So even indicators about patient population, of course, the indication that's being studied, or even things like the type of study. So many different ways you can utilize tags. And of course, if I wanted to add a new tag, you'll see I have the plus sign here. And I can really input any type of term that I'm interested in. So maybe it is a pediatric study. I can then go ahead and apply that tag. So those are, at a quick glance, your tags here. I will mention if we have any admins on the call today, admins can create and edit PDF library tags. So they can kind of support a consistent workflow, make it easy for everyone to access those tags. And that way people are kind of consistently applying tags across literature that they interact with. So I do want to note that there's a few other options for admins as well to further customize the workflow, which we'll talk about later. One of which actually is custom fields, which will be our next topic. So tags, as I mentioned, really give you that glance at a high level. Again, we can quickly see topics that are mentioned or different criteria that maybe the paper meets. So that's what I can utilize tags for. And again, custom fields will help to really extract and track information specific to the article. So we can use the custom fields across all folders and track, more targeted insights as well. And there's a few other options we can utilize to really customize this output. So for example, if I click into one of the articles here, we'll have the custom fields option at the kind of upper right-hand menu here. So custom fields, you can see I've already added a couple. So one to capture the indication. This is a free text input, so I can see just what indication that's being treated in the article here. I can also include a field for something like date first reviewed. This is important for things like audit trails. I could even input a field for things like who was the one that reviewed on my team. And that way we can track some of that information to understand, how this article has been interacted with to date. So we even have other options. You'll see if I right click here on peanut allergy, we do have an option to manage custom fields. So it's easy to edit or even add additional custom fields if needed. In this case, you can see I have a drop down and I can select either just an input text field, but I can also select a drop down menu. So I can pre-input specific selections, and then those will be available to choose from later as I'm filling out those custom fields. There's also a multiple selection option. So again, these are different ways that we can track specific information about the articles as we're reviewing and processing them. Okay, great. So we've reviewed tags, custom fields here. A lot of the capabilities that these allow us to bring into references here is the ability to filter. So as you'll see, I have the peanut allergy folder here. Here we can go ahead and use the icons to sort. So I can make that selection and it will actually filter by the publications where I have that tag applied. You'll also see I have things like the star icon here, which if you don't know, is like a favorite option. So I can add a star next to any of the articles to say, hey, this is one that I think is really key for this project. We should pay close attention to. So you do have that option as well. So many different visual indicators. So we've looked at the tags, custom fields would apply here as well. But there's a couple others which we haven't touched on yet, which we'll get into later. This would be our comments, that we've added in the PDF annotator. So we will get there shortly, but just to mention some of the visual indicators we have within the references platform. Okay. Moving on, we talked a little bit about the filtering. Smart folders, just to clarify, again, I did cover this on our previous call, but for those who maybe weren't able to attend, smart folders are kind of like a saved search. You can set up any smart folder from your company PDF library as you're searching there, and this will capture new citations as they're added to the platform, or I should say the company PDF library that match that search criteria. So again, just in case you weren't able to make that call, I did want to quickly clarify what smart folders are. Another topic that I do want to revisit as well is reuse insights. So one of the great ways that we can utilize the platform here is, let's say that I'm on the medical affairs team and I'm working in a presentation, and I just want to ensure that I can actually use that presentation and present it to an external audience. One way I can quickly utilize references here to ensure that is to click check reuse rights. This will indicate if I'm able to do so fairly quickly here. So you'll see in this case, I do not have the option to present to an external audience, at least at the moment. However, I can request a quote to do so if I really need to. So again, that's a great way just to get that quick check because we do integrate and build in this information seamlessly in the platform. Another example, if you're working on a regulatory submission, you'll see here in this case, yes, I do have that option. So it just gives you that ease, that comfort as well to make sure that you are copyright compliant, and of course that you're not putting your organization at risk either. Great. I now want to talk about some automations. So as you're building out some of these folders, you're working with a lot of research, even as you're working with colleagues, they might be adding in articles, and you're certainly not tracking every single article they add, right? So some of the automations we have here include an option to refresh the metadata for all of those citations. We can also dedupe citations. So if I look at my peanut allergy folder, actually, in some cases, I might have accidentally added the same citation twice. The platform does allow you to do that, But what we can do is by right-clicking on the folder, I can use the dedupe references option. And this will help to identify where I have duplicates, and then it will quickly remove them for me as well. And then of course, I can select which one I want to remove. In this case, I've added a tag to this version, so I'm going to select the other version to remove here. So actually, sorry, let me go ahead and select the one I want to save. So I want to save the one with my tags, or again, if I've added any notes, custom fields, that's work that I'd otherwise lose. So let's make sure we save the one where I've applied those. Okay, so that's deduping. The other option you have is to refresh the metadata. So this will help to make sure you just have all the correct information. You know, maybe you added a preprint, for example, so you would have the final version, or if there's an updated date, that kind of thing. So that just helps to make sure that your citations are all up to date in your folder. So yes, in this case, I do want to update that metadata. So that's one of the automations. You also do have the option to share from here, to manage those custom fields, or to find PDFs in a PDF library. So one of the great options here is because I used that RIS folder or RIS folder to upload citations to my references, in some cases, I might not have the full text available. Either I might have to order it, or maybe it's already in the PDF library. So in this case, I'll use this option to update the folder and make sure I have full text access to those articles. So again, we have these automations built in to streamline how we can manage these articles. You know, on one hand, we're refreshing the data, making sure we have no duplicates. And then we're also able to add those additional cues and context through things like tags and custom fields. So that is how references here can support the management of this literature. And in the next part of our demonstration, we'll talk more so on the collaboration. So I feel like I've mentioned some of these functionalities here and there, but here we'll actually dive a bit deeper into them. So one great way we can continue to leverage things like tags and custom fields is in our PDF annotator. So we can open up any of the articles here from my folders, either my personal folder, smart folders, or shared folders. So you'll see if I go ahead and open the PDF here, it allows me to view the article in full. So I can see I now have the ability to interact with the article here. We'll make it a little bit bigger just so you can see. And we can add comments, we can highlight, we can mark up this document in various ways. So you'll see I just use the zoom options here, but you'll notice I have this little toolbar, which allows me to highlight. So maybe there's a particular conclusion that I want to make sure I point out to a team member even. I can certainly go through and highlight some of those key statements here. So I'll just do this one. So very easy to highlight, to interact. You also do have an underline function, a strike through, and then you also notice things like the notes. So if I want to add a note, I can just say, hey, maybe I call out this particular sentence here to say, I can call out my teammate, but let's just say, have we seen this correlation before, or something like that. So, or let's review this on our next team call. You can make several different comments, of course, just to make sure that you are tracking some of this key information from the paper. So that will be saved within the PDF. You also have a few other options here. So you have a free text. So you can, again, add free text directly on the PDF itself. And you can, of course, freehand markings as well. So lots of different ways that we can interact with this PDF here. On the left-hand side also, again, we've layered in information from the site. So you can see, how often this has been cited, if there's any supporting or contrasting statements as well. But we can also add our tags and our notes from this pane as well. So clicking on tags, this acts or functions very much the same way as adding tags from the folder does. So again, I could say, this is a pediatric study. I don't know that it is, so I'm not going to add it. But again, very easy to add tags as you go here. You can even write out notes. So if there was a longer message you wanted to capture here or other assumptions, insights, you can also track that here within the PDF annotator. And then again, you do have custom fields. So these are the same ones we saw from the folder view earlier. I can add information about the indication or the date that I'm actually working on this, which today is the 12th of December, 2024. So very easy to input information into those custom fields from the PDF annotator as well. And again, as we're adding these things, these are additional ways that we can filter and sort our research within our folder view. So those are the ways you can interact with our PDF annotator. And again, this does get seen by your entire team as well. So it is a way to collaborate, to work on a paper together. Maybe if a team member missed something, another teammate can come back and add in that specific insight. Great. I know I've mentioned things like shared folders and company shared folders. I do want to clarify and add some context to this as well. So any of your folders here, whether it's a folder that starts as a personal folder or a folder that starts as a smart folder, you can share these with specific teammates and collaborate on these bibliographies or references as well. So if I wanted to share my peanut allergy folder, you'll see I have this gear icon here I can use, and you can select the option for sharing. From here, I can search another Article Galaxy user to make this folder available too. So I'll choose my colleague Chris here. And I can also select what his access level is. So if I only want him to be able to view the content, I can add him as a viewer. An administrator will give him the ability to add and interact with the articles as well, or it can make him an owner. So you can easily select your options here for the access level that is required, and then you can select invite user. You'll also notice I have user groups. These can be set up by admins. So if, for example, there's a medical affairs team that often does collaborate together in Article Galaxy references, we can create those user groups ahead of time on the back end. So that allows you to just save a little bit of time, rather than having to search for each of those users individually, we can create a user group for that. Or even if there's a large team where it would just take way too much time to add all those individuals. Again, we could select something like a medical affairs user group or a regulatory user group. So that's a great way to streamline the collaboration process and just make that a little bit easier. Okay. So very easy to share folders. I can also, as I'm creating folders, share them. So let's say again, let's just do something like a milk allergy folder. You'll see as I'm creating it, I do have that option to share a folder as well. I would just need to check the box here and make sure that I opt into that before I create the folder. So, you do have two options. Either you create the folder initially, maybe you decide later you want to share it. That is also an option. Great. All right, so we've covered the annotator, shared company folders, and user groups. I do want to mention here as well that it's very easy to export any of the data from references also. So you'll see for any of your folders, if you right click on the folder or use that gear icon, you have the export option. And we support many different file types here. So RIS is a fairly common one. There's also BibTeX, Excel, CSV, or just a bulk export for PDFs if you want to extract those. So very easy to download information, which will certainly be a great way to share externally. I do want to note, of course, with things like copyright compliance, we do want to make sure that you're not sharing those outside of your organization. But yeah, you'll certainly be able to export and extract any of that data that you've organized into any of the folders here as well. Company shared folders, this is an important one. These are actually set up by administrators. So an admin can set up a company shared folder. So that is custom to the organization. So we can actually sort and organize research into those folders as well. So while the user cannot set up these folders, oftentimes, administrators will, and that will certainly benefit you if there is a general topic or, things like that we can organize that data into. So many different types of folders. Once again, my references, this is a repository for sort of any articles that you yourself have ordered, potentially through something like Article Galaxy. My folders is a personal folder that you can set up. So it could be related to a specific indication. It could be a specific product. So sky's the limit there. Smart folders, these are things like kind of like a saved search. So as you're searching for, let's say again, peanut allergy, not to beat a dead horse, but you can save that as a smart folder and then track any new articles that are added to the PDF library, making it easy to track that new content. Shared folders, very similar to my folders, but you can choose specific users or user groups to share them with. And then company shared folders, of course, are shared across the wider organization for all Article Galaxy users. So I know we covered a lot, but I think that will be the end of our demonstration here today. Hopefully this was helpful and gave you some ideas of how you can start to use Article Galaxy references to support collaboration, but also just better management of your scientific literature. All right, so I'm going to turn it back over to Julia here just for a few announcements.
Thank you so much, Heidi. That was a great walkthrough. I saw first questions come through, so just another second, and then we'll cover all of your questions. So the first one is, I'm adding a link in the chat here right now. If you liked what you saw today, with that link, you can reach out if you'd like to ask for a trial or more in-depth demonstration, want to add more people to that call. Or also if you're an existing Article Galaxy or even references customer, but you saw something today that you don't see within your platform, definitely reach out either to your account manager or use that same link, and I'll be sure to connect you with the right person so we can discuss adding anything that you want to have added to your Article Galaxy interface. Okay, the second one, or the second announcement, I should say, on the next slide is a new ebook that we just launched this morning, I think just an hour ago or something. So I don't want to call that out to this group here as well. I'm adding the link in the chat. In this ebook, we provide 10 tips on how researchers as well as R&D teams can modernize their workflows to save time, enhance collaboration, and achieve best results by leveraging advanced tools and strategies. In the ebook, you will find tips, especially regarding Article Galaxy, also references and the integration with Cite, as Heidi mentioned. So here's the link. Feel free to fill out the form so you get direct access to this ebook, and no doubt you'll find lots of value in it. Okay, then my favorite part, questions. The first one is, does the company PDF library list all articles contained in subscribed journals or only ones which have been downloaded by someone in the organization?
Yeah, great question. I'm glad you asked that. So the company PDF library specifically, which I started the call off today with, that is the articles that have been ordered or purchased by other users of Article Galaxy. So it is documents that you currently have full text access to. So yeah, that should be the answer to your question. I will say, if you have a subscription or let's say tokens to a journal, if you're ordering through Article Galaxy, all of that information is layered in. So we do track those subscriptions. So you certainly can easily get access to those other publications. You just would simply have to order the PDF. So yeah, I just want to clarify that, but it's a great question.
Yeah, thank you. The next question is, can I share folders and content with users outside of my organization?
Yeah, a great question. It comes up quite a bit. You cannot, and that is intentional. So one, we want to ensure that your content, your information is safe. But again, sharing externally outside of your organization is also a copyright issue. So it is intended to not allow you to share externally simply for those reasons.
Yeah, good question. And thank you, Heidi, for answering.
Sure.
Is there a limit to the number of folders or subfolders that I can create?
Good question as well. So there is no limit. Again, the company PDF library, it's a very extensive repository. So we do have customers that have tens of thousands of articles. So there's no limit to how many PDFs we can store in the company PDF library. And same goes for folders. So you can create unlimited folders as needed.
Awesome. Great. One last question I see. And if anybody has a question that you haven't added yet, this would be the perfect time. I'm new to Research Solutions and Article Galaxy References. Do you offer a free trial? And if yes, where do I reach out in order to get more information?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. We do offer trials, and you can always reach out to our sales team, sales@researchsolutions.com. Just to advance the next slide here. That's fitting. So yeah, reach out to our sales team and someone would be happy to set you up with a trial.
Certainly. And I'm re-adding the link here as well. You can feel free to just head over there and ask for that trial. We can set up that trial for you or a team of people. Okay, sweet. Looks like we've answered all questions today. If any questions come up later in the day with those same links, feel free to reach out or hit reply to that webinar email that you received from me. As I mentioned in the beginning, you'll be receiving an email from me in about an hour or two with the recording of webinar 1 and webinar 2 of this webinar series. Yeah, don't hesitate to reach out. Heidi, thank you so much for joining again and for providing this demonstration about references. Thank you everyone for taking the time to attend the webinar. We know Christmas time is busy, so we really appreciate you spending these 2 hours with us. And yeah, happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.